All right, so today we're going to dive into a really pivotal moment in the Gospel of John. We're talking about the final hours before Jesus' crucifixion, where he makes this huge promise to his followers, a promise that was meant to completely reshape how they, and we, understand God's presence in the world.
So just try to put yourself in their shoes for a second. Imagine you've dropped everything to follow this incredible leader for 3 straight years. He's your teacher, your friend, basically your entire world. And then he turns to you and says, "I'm leaving, and where I'm going, you can't come." Can you feel that? I mean, that's a moment of sheer panic and a feeling of total abandonment.
But right into that wave of fear, Jesus speaks these words, "I will not leave you as orphans." This isn't just a nice, comforting platitude. No, this is him laying the groundwork for a promise that's about to change absolutely everything. He's making it clear, I'm not abandoning you, I'm just changing the way I'm with you.
To really get the weight of this promise, you have to understand the scene. Jesus has just told them he's leaving. These guys are described as frightened, disillusioned, completely broken men. The question just hanging in the air is simple, and it's terrifying. What do we do now?
Okay, now here's where Jesus says something that must have sounded completely backwards to them. He actually argues that him leaving, his physical departure, is better for them than him staying. Now, why on earth would he say that? Well, because for his mission to go from a local movement to a worldwide one, he had to leave, so he could send someone else.
So what's the solution to him not being there physically? It's the arrival of who he calls another helper. And this helper, he says, is the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, who would be with them forever.
And that word helper is so important. The original Greek is parakletos. This doesn't mean comfort like a warm, fluffy blanket. It means to make strong. Think of someone who comes right alongside you when you're in a tough spot, in a tight situation, and gives you the strength you need to get through it. It's an active, empowering presence.
This really lays out the completely unique relationship the disciples were going to have with this helper. Jesus says the world, well, it can't receive, see, or even know the Spirit. But for his followers, it's a totally different story. The Spirit won't just be with them, the way Jesus was standing next to them. No, the Spirit is going to be in them. That is a massive, fundamental shift in the relationship between God and humanity.
Okay, so if this new internal relationship with God is the new reality, how do you know it's real? How is it demonstrated? Well, the evidence, as Jesus explains it, isn't found in some mystical feeling, but in actual, tangible action.
This is the key evidence right here. Loving Jesus and keeping his commandments. They're basically 2 sides of the same coin. And that word commandments, it's not meant to sound all harsh and legalistic. It just means all of his words, his teachings, the stuff he taught them for their own good.
I mean, the connection couldn't be more direct. If a person genuinely loves Jesus, it will just naturally result in a life that's lined up with his teachings. The act of keeping his words isn't some heavy burden you have to carry. It's the natural, undeniable proof of that love.
You know, the source material uses this great analogy. You can always tell a fisherman by that distinct smell, right? Well, in the same way, Jesus is saying the evidence of a true disciple, someone who loves him, it ought to be just as obvious, just as identifiable by the way they live their life.
So all of this leads to the next logical question, which you can just feel the disciples thinking. If Jesus is leaving, like physically gone, how are they ever going to see him again? How is he going to reveal himself to them?
And one of the disciples, a guy named Judas, not Iscariot, the other one, he just comes right out and asks it. And it's a fantastic question. Lord, how are you going to show yourself to us and not to everybody else? How does this actually work if it's not some big public spectacle?
And Jesus' answer brings us right back to that central point. He doesn't describe some kind of mystical vision or a huge public appearance. He says he shows himself, he manifests himself to the person who loves him enough to keep his word. You see him by actually living out what he taught.
And the result of that connection is it's incredible. Jesus says that he and the Father will come and make their home with that person. So that future hope of dwelling with God, it's not just some far-off thing you wait for. It starts now in the life of the believer. The whole thing comes full circle.
Now, to wrap all of this up, Jesus makes sure to ground every single one of these mind-blowing promises in reality. This isn't a myth or a nice philosophical idea. He wants them to know for sure that their faith is being built on solid, verifiable ground.
The source material points out that Jesus was as real a historical figure as Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great.
His life, his death, his resurrection, these were real events that happened at a specific time in a specific place on Palestinian soil. This faith is based on things that really happened.
And this is the clincher. Jesus intentionally tells them all of this before it happens. His death, his resurrection, the sending of the Helper. He's literally laying out a roadmap of the future so that when all these events unfold exactly like he said they would, their belief will be rock solid. It's like he's giving them the proof ahead of time.
So we're left with this question, right? According to Jesus in this moment, the greatest sign of a living faith isn't some dramatic spiritual experience. It's the quiet, consistent act of lining your life up with his words, all fueled by love and empowered by the presence of that helper he promised. It's a connection that's proven not by what you feel, but by what you do.